Welcome back to a Wicked Historian.
Picture this. You are standing inside the inner chambers of the Imperial Palace in Luoyang. It is 697 AD. Silk curtains move slowly in the night air. Incense coils upward towards ceilings painted with gold dragons. The floors beneath you are polished stone, cool and silent. And at the center of the chamber, on a raised platform layered in embroidered cushions, sits a 73-year-old woman. Her posture is straight. Her eyes are sharp. Her expression unreadable. She is the most powerful person on earth. Her name is Wu Zetian. And she is not empress. She is emperor. But here's the detail that changes everything. Kneeling before her tonight is a man 50 years younger. 6 years ago, he was selling cosmetics in the marketplace outside these walls. Tonight, he commands armies. His name is Shuo Huaiyi. And in his eyes, there is fear, because for 3 weeks now, he has not been summoned as often. For 3 weeks, he has watched 2 younger men leave these chambers at dawn, their robes slightly disordered, their confidence unmistakable, to brothers, more polished, more charming, more dangerous. Jealousy in a palace like this is not an emotion. It is a countdown, but before we get to the fire he will set. Before we get to the night the palace runs red. You need to understand how this woman rose to power in the first place. Because what she did at 14 makes everything else look tame. She entered the palace of Emperor Taizong of Tang as a low-ranking concubine. One among hundreds, most girls in her position disappeared into decorative silence. She didn't. While others fought for attention, she studied the structure of power. She learned who controlled access, who delivered messages, who whispered in corridors. When Taizong died, tradition demanded she enter a monastery for the rest of her life. That was the rule, but the new emperor, Emperor Zhang of Tang, wanted her back. A son claiming his father's former concubine violated sacred moral codes. The court protested. She returned anyway. And slowly, carefully, she began removing obstacles. By 655, she was empress. By 690, she did something no woman had ever done in 4,000 years of Chinese imperial history. She declared herself emperor, not symbolic ruler, not regent, emperor. She rewrote cosmic order. And once she held the throne, she never intended to surrender it. But power at 66 is different than power at 30, and as she aged, she built something no emperor before her had openly constructed, a system, quiet, efficient, dangerous, and it would revolve around men like Shuo Huaiyi. Men who believed favor meant security. They were about to learn the difference. Because in this palace, loyalty was currency. And once she stopped spending it on you, you didn't fade away, you disappeared. Before he wore silk robes, before generals bowed, Shuo Huaiyi was nobody. A street vendor in Luoyang, tall, physically striking, confident. Someone noticed him. He was brought inside the palace, ordained as a monk, giving him unrestricted access to sacred spaces. It was a perfect solution. He could enter the inner chambers without suspicion. And once he did, he became indispensable. Wu Zetian favored him openly. She granted him estates, military authority, political influence. Ministers who had served 3 emperors suddenly found themselves outranked by a former merchant. And Shuo Huaiyi changed. He pushed aside officials in ceremony lines, interrupted state business. Once, he struck a senior minister during a public function. And the emperor said nothing, because as long as he pleased her, he was protected. But here is the truth he failed to see. He wasn't powerful, he was replaceable. As Wu Zetian entered her 70s, she began craving refinement, conversation, art, intellectual engagement, and then the Zhang brothers arrived. Zhang Yizhi and Zhang Changzong. Young, educated, elegant, they wrote poetry, played music, spoke to her as if she were not an aging ruler, but a woman still commanding admiration. She summoned them frequently, publicly, and she made sure Shuo Huaiyi saw. His invitations decreased, his influence thinned, and one night, consumed by humiliation, he set fire to a massive ceremonial tower she had built. The flames burned for days. He expected execution. Instead, she forgave him, not out of mercy, out of control. Keeping him alive was a greater punishment. But when he later attacked one of the brothers in jealousy, she ended it, quietly, completely. The monk who thought he was untouchable became ash, and the Zhang brothers stepped fully into power. But what happens when companions stop being companions and start acting like rulers? By the early 700s, the Zhang brothers were no longer simply favorites, they were gatekeepers. Access to the emperor meant access to them. Appointments shifted. Family members of the brothers gained key posts, governorships, military commands, strategic offices. Ministers began to whisper. Was every decree truly approved by Wu Zetian, or were reports being filtered before reaching her? As she approached 80, her health declined, but her authority remained absolute. That imbalance created danger. Opposition formed quietly. Military leaders, senior officials, even her own son. They feared one thing: if the brothers controlled the court now, what would happen when she died? Would they seize the throne? In early 705, the answer came violently. Armed officials stormed the palace. The brothers were seized, dragged into the courtyard, executed, their power erased in a single night. Wu Zetian demanded it stop, but she was 81, and for the first time in half a century, her command was ignored. The woman who had outlived rivals, emperors, ministers, and tradition itself, was about to confront the only enemy she could not outmaneuver: time. After the coup, Wu Zetian was forced to abdicate. Her son reclaimed the throne. She was moved to a separate palace. No longer emperor, no longer feared, just an elderly woman under watch. For 50 years, she had controlled succession, appointments, intelligence, loyalty. She elevated talent over noble birth, expanded civil service exams, strengthened central authority, and ruled directly in a world that insisted women could not. She died in December 705, 80-1 years old. Her tomb stands near Xi'an. On it sits a blank stone tablet. No praise, no condemnation, no words, just silence. Perhaps that was intentional, because how do you summarize a woman who broke 4,000 years of precedent? Tyrant, visionary, manipulator, strategic genius. Maybe she was all of them. She used favor as leverage, jealousy as entertainment, power as protection, and control as survival. She did not wait for permission. She rewrote the rules, and 13 centuries later, we are still arguing about her. Final close, because history is never simple, and the people who change it the most are rarely gentle. If you want the next hidden chapter powerful men hoped you'd never look at, you know where to go. I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe to A Wicked Historian.